यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य
ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंशऋषभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः सर्वोपप्लवरहित प्रज्ञान घन प्रत्यगर्थो ब्रह्माहमस्मि सोहमस्मि ब्रह्माहमस्मि। ओम प्रपन्न पारिजाताय तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। ओम सर्वेभ्यो सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। May the Almighty Shri Lord Venkateshwara bestow all kinds of prosperity, health, wealth and eternal happiness with Paripurna Lakshmi Katakshams to you and the entire your family members and friends. Let us begin Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 12, verse number 1. Arjuna uvacha yevam satata yukta ye bhaktas paryupasate ye chapyaksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. The name of the chapter is known as Bhakti Yoga. It comes as the 12th chapter in Bhagavad Gita. And this is unique chapter also. The name itself shows its importance and glory. Bhakti Yoga. Now Bhakti means what? We are going to analyze. Before that, I would like to specify one thing. Prathama Shatkam and Dvitiya Shatkam. We have completed 2 Shatkas. Prathama Shatkam, in which there are 6 chapters, and Dvitiya Shatkam, which also contains 6 chapters. The last chapter of Prathama Shatkam was known as Atma Samyama Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. Now the last chapter of the Dvitiya Shatkam is known as Bhakti Yoga. There Bhagavan used the technical term which is known as Dhyana, Atma Samyama Yoga. But here he uses Bhakti Yoga. Their communication between the self with self. When you realize about yourself clearly, you are able to penetrate in you. You are able to transcend you and get and catch hold the core of yourself. Beyond that, there is nothing. Only you are able to reach to yourself. Then that is known as Atma Siddhi. In other words, we call it self-realization. We have been lacking of the self-realization for the Janmas. We have been lacking for the self-realization for many Janmas. Now, in order to realize yourself, you have to seek the help of a Shastra. The Shastra won't become alive without a Guru. If you have a Guru who can impart the essence of Vedas or essence of Shastra, which is known as Prasthanatraya, then you will be enlightened about yourself. That's known as self-realization. So once you are able to identify yourself with proper yourself, then that becomes a magical point in your life. That magical point which leads for the eternal happiness in your life. So one portion of Vedanta is being completed. The first portion of Mahavakya is being completed. Tvam padartha visheshaha. Now you have got the meaning of the Tvam padartha, that real self. So Jivasya Swarupam. That Jivasya Swarupam means what? The real nature of an individual is being understood or realized by that individual itself. Now here we have to realize one thing. When you realize about yourself, then what? That realization which should also fructify the fruit, for that you need to have the assimilation. The mere knowledge from Shastra, it won't fructify the fruit. The knowledge must be assimilated by the person who has received it. Now the last chapter, it expressed or it defines how can be that knowledge assimilated. Could you understand what I say? Once you realize about yourself, that itself not enough. You are not going to lose, but you need to dig with that. You have to dwell in that subject matter so that you can become a transformed soul. In the same way, once you have become a proper transformed soul, means once you are completely realized one, you are able to find the benefit. What is the benefit? Means complete clarity about ourselves, complete clarity about our karma and karma phala and samsaritva, and now you can work or you can analyze about the reality which exists beyond us, means which exists other than ourselves. Because there are only two things in this world, in this life. You experience about yourself and you experience about the world, or you experience the world. Now what exactly the world is? Without bringing Ishvara's concept, the world cannot be realized. Therefore, simultaneously God and the world, God and creation. So what kind of God becomes the author of the creation? So in this way we have analyzed for the past 5 chapters. Through these 5 chapters we have learned what exactly the Ishvara is. Now we have been informed what exactly the Swarupa of Ishvara. There are 3 steps through which we can encounter the concept of Ishvara that we have completed. Now, once you have inquired, once you have encountered, once you have realized about Ishvara, then what? That the fruit of that Ishvara darshanam should bring the bhakti. Now, bhakti means what? Bhakti is in the form of fruit, phalasvarupam. Now, also we can understand after 5 chapters, which deals about Ishvaratvam, we are going to dwell in the 5 chapters. And also we can understand after completing these 5 chapters, we need to dwell on those subject matters which are unfolded by these 5 chapters regarding Ishvaratvam, regarding the world, Mithyatvam. We need to have a process. That process is known as bhakti, through which you can assimilate the knowledge of Ishvara, the knowledge of creation. The proper nature of Ishvara, through which you can identify yourself with him in the form of equation, will happen when there is bhakti. When there is a devotion, the devotion will bring a capacity to assimilate the knowledge which has been imparted by Guru. And the same bhakti also is the benefit of the knowledge of Ishvara. Now bhakti means what? A sutra from Narada defines what exactly it is. Satvasmin paraprema rupa. It's a beautiful sutra, and he has given more than 80 sutras. I think there are 84 sutras which are available in the form of Bhakti, Narada Bhakti Sutra. He defines in the first sutra, Athato Bhaktim Vyakhyāsyāmaha. Then the second sutra comes, Satvasmin Paraprema Rupa. Amurtha Svarupa Cha. These 2 sutras define what exactly the bhakti is. Yellabdhva puman siddho bhavarti amurtho bhavati. And not only that, tripto bhavati. Yellabdhva puman Siddho bhavati, amurto bhavati, tripto bhavati. By achieving with, by attaining with, the person becomes a siddha. The person who has gained the complete contentment of the life. Amurto bhavati, he becomes what? Amaraha. Then tripto bhavati, he becomes a complete satisfied one. Now these definitions are, it looks like a very traditional definitions. You take the history of Narada itself. A Ratnakaraka, who was a dacoit, he is able to transform into a poet because of who created or who wrote Valmiki Ramayana. Now a looter can be transformed into a poet, and that poet can give a great boon for the humanity, which contains 1 lakh, more than 1 lakh shlokas, Valmiki Ramayana. So that text is the boon for our human being. Not only that, this bhakti which also made Vyasa to write Bhagavata, same Narada, when Vyasacharya was thinking and he was lacking of fulfillment after creating or returning 18 Puranas. At that time, Narada suggested him to write a Purana which is named as Bhagavata. Narada came to know what was he lacking of bhakti. The bhakti is a magical phenomenon. That bhakti means it's a magic alone. That Narada, who transformed a dacoit into a poet and who could suggest Vedavyasa, he was a Shrotriyam Brahmanistha, who was a great scholar. Still, Vyasa Vishala Buddhe, he could suggest to him. And also he could teach the glory of Narayana to the infant which was in the womb of Hiranyakashipu's wife. He could penetrate Garbha and transform the baby. Later on, that baby became Prahlada Maharshi. That is what the bhakti is. So bhakti is a magic. Bhakti is a wonder. That Narada, he defines what exactly bhakti. Sa bhakti hi prema rupa, para prema rupa, the love towards Ishvara, the supreme love, para prema rupa bhakti hi, in the God, love towards God. Now bhakti means what? The great love towards God. That love is an expression, Amrita Swarupacha, in which you don't find death, in which you find Amrtatvam, eternity, and that which is the nectar. Bhakti means nectar. Bhakti means Amaratvam. And yat prapya na kinchit vanchati na sochati, by attaining which people doesn't worry about anything. They don't desire for anything in this world. And also he continues, nadveti naramate notsahi bhavati. After attaining this bhakti, people won't be attracted by the worldly object. All these worldly object becomes useless for them, because they are endowed with the bhakti, and the bhakti makes them to a complete satisfied soul, a complete soul, a soul which has attained everything. Therefore bhakti is a very huge subject. It cannot be brought into a 20 verses. It is very difficult, and we have to we have to be careful even to understand what exactly bhakti is. So when you understand the bhakti, so bhakti as a fruit of Vishwarupa Darshana. That Vishwarupa Darshana which is being constructed by the knowledge of Ishvara Swarupa. Bhagavan Krishna is doing this job from chapter number 7. Just slowly he constructed the construction in us from the chapter number 7 by introducing there are 3 levels of understanding in order to realize Ishvara. After imparting the knowledge of Ishvara Swarupam, he started explaining the Vishwarupa Darshana, and after having the Vishwarupa Darshana, now he has come to a Bhakti Yoga, the subject which is known as devotion, the devotion with the knowledge. The knowledge already it is being received by Arjuna. Now this bhakti should be generated automatically by Arjuna's mind or from Arjuna's mind, because when you are becoming aware about Ishvara's glory, the bhakti automatically will be or should be, has to be generated. Therefore Lord Krishna just keep on explaining so that Arjuna could understand, yes, this is the fruit which is nothing but the nectar, Amrta Swarupacha. And you can also become a person like Narada. Have you ever seen Narada sitting in a place and crying? No. Narada never blame on anybody, on anything. The Narada who has the power to travel to 3 lokas, but we are allowed to live only in the earth. But being in one loka, we are making the loka into a poisonous condition. We don't know how to live. We blame a lot. We are becoming more irritated souls. We don't know how to live in this world. Now this chapter will bring a great medicine through which we can just live our life with joy. That's what is known as bhakti. Bhakti means it's Amrta Swarupa. It is in the form of love. It is in the form of nectar. But that bhakti is to be understood step by step. According to Vedas, you don't find this bhakti word in Vedas, nowhere. The word bhakti is being supplied in the Puranas. Now what exactly bhakti? We have seen bhakti is nothing but the love. Love means what? Love means, people say pyar, prema, anbu. So like we say, love means what? Love towards Ishvara. So love towards Ishvara means how to express it. And the love within ourselves, with ourselves, love which can be experienced. It means, love means it should contain satisfaction. Love means it should have contentment. The love in which there should not be any death kind of a dangerous factor. The love which is known as bhakti is to be understood step by step. Therefore Bhagavan Krishna, he brings the proper infrastructure. Because in the name of bhakti, there are so many activities on, as we saw in the last sessions. I told you, in the name of bhakti, we walk on fire. We carry the fire pots. We go for a pilgrims. We observe vratams. We also have so many chinnas like Tripundra, Thiruman, and having attiring with different dress. In the name of bhakti, we also go for padayatra. In the name of bhakti, charities are done. In the name of bhakti, yajnas, homas, upavasas, japa, dhyana, all so many varieties of activities are done. How can we understand the connection between this activity and the love? That's what Krishna is bringing in proper way, so that we could assimilate step by step. It's a vast subject. this chapter contains only 20 verses. Within this 20 words is impossible to put this subject matter and present it properly. But that is Ishvara's glory, Bhagavan's glory. He has given it that we will explore and experience the bhakti verse by verse, class by class. From next session onwards, we will elaborately, we will get into the bhakti, and we also should or will or have to or may experience the bhakti. See you in the next session. Harihi Om. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.